Welcome to the February the 11th taping for a presentation on February the 18th of a very special spotlight on Black History Month. And this is our history tape number 166, and we are just so excited today. We have a very special family from the Grand Prairie, Texas, and its environs, the Morton family, M-O-R-T-O-N. Very famous family in Grand Prairie, Texas, and we're just so pleased to have not only the patriarch of the family, but we have his son, his grandson, and his great-grandson. So we are just really into history today. So first of all, let's begin with the Reverend John O. Morton. Reverend Morton, would you look right over here into your camera and tell us a little bit about yourself by giving your parents' name?
My parents were named Sam Morton. My mother was named Mary Morton.
All right. Where did they come from to the Grand Prairie area?
They actually been here all their lives.
And they have been here all of their lives?
Except my grandmother come from Gonzales.
From Gonzales, Texas?
My mother came from Gonzales.
From Gonzales, Texas?
Right.
All right. Now, as you were growing up in Grand Prairie, Texas, did you go to school in this area?
Yes, I did. I started school in 1917.
1917.
Yeah.
And then, as you grew into young manhood and married, would you tell us the name of your illustrious wife and the mother of Principal Delmas Morton?
All right. Their mother was named Dixie Morton.
Dixie Morton. Would you like to give her maiden name for the record?
Hodges.
Oh, that is great. All right. Did you have any other children, or I'll just ask Delmas this to give all of his brothers and sisters. Won't that be okay?
That'd be okay.
All right. Now that I've gotten you married to Dixie, what did you do for a living at that time, Reverend?
I worked for, I began work at Texas Nursery when I first married. I was a landscaper at Texas Nursery.
All right.
And I left there and I went to Arlington. And I run a riding academy over the college over at Arlington.
Oh, my.
And then I stayed there 2 years. Then I started to work for the, not Gifford Hill, but the Nervy Department. Let me see, what's called that? It's been so long since I'm thinking. Well, I went to work for Gifford Hill in 1932. And then I worked from 39 years, and I got to be a purchasing agent for them and a salesman of sand and gravel, of shipping it out.
That is wonderful. You have had an illustrious career here in the Grand Prairie, Texas area, and have brought a lot of recognition to our community. And we're going to get back with you in a few minutes, but let's let you rest a moment and go to Delmas Morton, the principal at Austin Elementary, a very special young man, and we'd like for you to tell a little bit about the family, Delmas, and also lead us up to your married life. Would you start out when you were a young person and give us your brothers and sisters or anything you'd like to tell?
All right, I'll do that. I was born in 1931 in the state of Texas at Dallas. I was reared on a farm about northeast of here called Gifford and Hills Ranch. There I had one sister and three brothers. And I have one brother that's deceased, well, two brothers that's deceased, and I have one brother living.
Would you name him?
Samuel is his name. He works, he's retired from the Irving Public Schools.
All right. And your sister?
My sister, Dixie Caraway, and she resides in Irving, Texas. And she's married to a gentleman named Leroy Caraway.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your schooling when you came up as a young man living out in the Gifford Hill area.
Okay, when I was living here in Grand Prairie at that particular time, there was things were segregated for races wise, and I had to attend school at Delaware. And then I had to walk about a mile, catch a ride with a teacher who worked at Delworth, which was about 7 or 8 miles away from my home at that particular time. And I went there from grade for 1. Then I switched over and went to Irving for a couple of years to 3rd grade, and I came back to Dalworth, and that's where I went from 3 through 8th grade.
And then when you got to the 8th grade, where did you go?
When I graduated from the 8th grade at Dalworth Elementary School, I attended the public schools of Dallas. I went to Booker T. Washington High School in Dallas because I could not attend Grand Prairie High School because of the segregation laws at that particular time.
Exactly.
So we had to go to, with paid transportation by him. He had to purchase our bus tickets to get on the bus to ride to Dallas daily, and we did that. Grand Prairie took care of the tuition, but they wouldn't take care of the transportation. Had it not been for him sacrificing at that particular time, I probably wouldn't have had an education today, but he sacrificed for 2 boys and sending them to high school in Dallas. Most of the students of my at that time in 8th grade dropped out because they could not afford the transportation. Parents could not afford to pay for them to go to Dallas.
All right. Before you went to Booker T. Washington in Dallas, at the Dalworth campus, who was the principal and some of the people that you were associated with?
We had David Daniels was the principal, Mr. David Daniels at that particular time, and we had one other teacher. Her name was Mrs. Jackson. She taught 1 through 4, and he taught 5 through 8. So we had 2 teachers to take care of 4 grades apiece. Yeah.
What did Delmas do to excel at Dalworth? Did you play baseball?
I played softball and a little baseball, but excelling, I did pretty good in softball, but that's about all we played at that particular time.
All right, but on to Booker T. Washington,
what happened? On to Booker T. Washington, I joined the band, and I spent 4 years in the band playing a trumpet, and then I received a scholarship to go to college playing trumpet.
And then where did you go to college?
I went to undergraduate school, Texas College in Tyler, Texas, which is a Christian African Methodist-owned institution. And then after I graduated, got my BA degree, I went into armed services and spent 2 years. And after I left there, I came back and went to Prairie View A&M University to get my master's degree in school administration.
And during all of this time, Prairie View and all of the route that you have taken, have you, of course, would you like to divulge how you met your wife-to-be and how you all met? And
I met my wife that's deceased. I met her, which is the mother of Brunswick Morton. I met her. We decided a group of college kids went out one night and went to this club, and that's where I met her in a nightclub there, and we were all college kids having a good time, and that's where it all started there back in 1953.
Would you like to name drop her name?
Her name was Clarissa S. Nash at that particular time.
All right.
Okay, and she's deceased now.
Yes. All right, do you have any other children other than Brunswick?
Brunswick is the only child that I have.
Oh, he is pampered and spoiled then, isn't he? Yes, he is.
He's not spoiled. He's a good person. He really is.
I'm going to get back with you in a little bit, Principal Delmas, because we want to talk a little bit about Austin Elementary and your career since you've gotten your master's degree. But now let's go to Brunswick, who is the 3rd generation Morton that we're going to be talking with today, and he's very proud to have his beautiful wife Carmen and his wonderful young son Douglas, D-O-U-G-L-A-S-S, with us today. So let's start with Brunswick. Brunswick, tell us about your early childhood, would you?
Well, I was born in Dallas, Texas, November 23rd, 1957. I believe we lived in Dallas for about 5 years, and I think in 1963, my dad and my mom and I moved to Grand Prairie, actually to the Dalworth area. I grew up and went grades 1 through 6. I attended Dalworth Elementary, which was at that time was segregated because of the segregated laws. After grade 6, I attended Lee Middle School from grades 7 through 9. And I also attended Grand Prairie High School, and I graduated Grand Prairie High School in 1976. And from high school, I attended Prairie View A&M University from 1976 to 1980. Once I graduated from Prairie View A&M, I decided to come home and attend the University of Texas at Arlington, where I received my Master of Arts degree in Urban Affairs. And I've been in this area since that particular time, but I've had all my public education in the Grand Prairie School District.
Oh, that's wonderful. You are a gopher.
Oh, yes,
All
I'm a
right.
gopher.
All right, but let's get back to Dalworth. When you attended Dalworth, name the principal and some of your favorite teachers.
At the time, Mr. David Daniels was my principal, who everybody is always proud of and proud to see, and glad he's healthy now. Some of the teachers that I can remember, I remember quite most of my first grade teacher, who was Miss Betty Love, who I think is currently an administrator now with the Grand Prairie School District. I remember Miss Love because she was very tough with the kids, and she was a disciplinarian, and she made sure we walked the chalk line. Some of the other teachers that I can remember also is Mr. Alec Grant, who I think had a big impression on me because he was also a disciplinarian, and he made sure that we got our homework, and we did our homeworks over the weekend and those type of things. And I also had my dad in the 6th grade, and believe it or not, my dad was probably the toughest on me than any of the students because I was a child of his. But those are the teachers that I can remember offhand that had the biggest impact on my life. I also remember Miss Trim that I had in the 4th grade, who I think has just recently retired from the Grand Prairie School District. So I had a lot of good memories there while at Dalworth, and I can remember even in the 1st and 2nd grade, at that time, Dalworth was a high school. So I do remember attending some of the high school football games down at Prairie Park, also known as the Mosquito Bowl at that time.
Oh, wonderful.
And enjoyed those times, and remember some of the old players at that time that played at Dalworth.
Were you into sports?
Yes, I was. I played football from grades 6 through 12. While at Grand Prairie High School, I played football, I ran track, and also played basketball 1 year as a sophomore. And out of all the sports that I played, I enjoyed track the most, I believe. It's an individual sport, and I really got a lot of enjoyment out of running track at that time.
And when you went on to college at Prairie View and on over to UTA, were you into sports then, or did you go into academics?
At that time, I decided to go into academics and to make sure that I did a lot of good work to make sure I graduated. I was quite involved at that time in the Prairie A&M University's Naval ROTC program. As some of you might not know, Prairie A&M graduates most of the black officers in the Navy and the Army, and they are quite known nationwide for having an excellent ROTC program. After 2 years, I was thinking of making a commitment to the Navy, but decided that at that time that I would rather not do that, but I was quite involved. I was in the Naval ROTC drill team who had the opportunity to attend 2 Mardi Gras back in 1977 and 1978. So other than the ROTC experience, I was basically just a student at that particular time.
Tell us how you met Carmen, or would you like for Carmen to tell us how she met Brunswick?
Do you want to tell that?
All right, Carmen, we're going to put you front and center. And Douglas, aren't you excited to be here with your mommy today?
Yes.
You are? Can you say yes real loud?
Say yes.
Oh, you bet. That's good. We're going to get back with you in just a minute and let you tell us how old you are. But Carmen, would you tell us about the meeting with Brunswick if you'd like to, and maybe a little bit about yourself, and name your parents if you'd like to.
Okay. I moved here in 1968 from San Antonio, Texas, and I attended Dalworth School, and that's where I met Brunswick in 5th grade. We
How
really
wonderful.
kind of knew each other. We, wasn't a real close relationship, but we went to school all through the years, on up to high school. And I've known him since 5th grade.
Yes.
And then after he finished college, then that's when the courtship started.
That is
Yes.
great. All right, and what did you do with your life after high school?
Well, I attended college too. I went to the University of Texas at Arlington.
All right.
And I graduated in speech communications, and I minored in education. Right now I'm a teacher, 3rd grade teacher at Milam Elementary here in Grand Prairie. And that's basically how we met and what happened.
And not long after that, look what we have with us. And would you like to say hello to those out in the audience? Would you like to say to this camera right ahead? Can you say hello to this camera for us, Douglas?
Wave at the camera.
Wait.
See the guy?
Yes.
Right there.
See the guy?
Douglas, would you like to say hello to everyone? Yeah, wave to them.
Say hello.
Yes. Wave to everyone. How old are you, Douglas?
33.
Are you 3? Can you hold up 3 fingers for us?
3 fingers. One more.
Oh,
One
yes,
more.
now you're making it. Are you in preschool?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Oh, are you in nursery school then maybe?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, that is wonderful. Is there anything that you'd like to tell us about being on television today that you're real proud of your father, your grandfather, and your great-grandfather that are here?
So you're excited about being here? Say that. He agrees. He agrees.
really is.
He agrees.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's wonderful. He's saying, Mommy.
What? Okay, that's fine.
All right. All right, well, let's go on with Carmen just a little bit. As a teacher at Milam, is it very exciting having 2 career people in the family?
Yes, it is. We share a lot.
Yes.
You know, we keep each other informed about what we're doing, so it is very exciting.
Let's get back to Brunswick. Brunswick, you have a very exciting career. After you left UTA and married, what did you do with your life then?
After I left UTA, at the time I was in undergraduate school, right after that I had to make a major decision. I was heavily recruited by the CIA, and at that time had gone through the screening process and had to make a choice of whether I wanted to pursue that or not. And I decided to apply for a grant from the Housing and Urban Development Department for minority students that were interested in public administration. I applied for the HUD grant and received that grant and was placed in a small city south of Fort Worth by the name of Burleson, Texas. And I started in September of 1980 as an administrative intern in the city manager's office and got great experience from that. And after that, I was promoted to an assistant to the city manager position in Burleson in 1982, I believe. And once I left Burleson, I also went to the city of Dallas, and I went to the city of Dallas in March of 1984, where I worked 3 years in the Budget and Research Department, and I also worked 1 year as an administrative division manager in the Court Services Department with the city of Dallas. And in April of 1989, I left the city of Dallas and came to the city of Grand Prairie, which I'm currently employed as the purchasing manager with the city of Grand Prairie. And that's what I've been doing the last 10 years, I'd say, career-wise.
That is a wonderful dossier. Wonderful. All right, let's get back to Delmas Morton, principal at Austin Elementary. Tell us a little bit about being a school administrator, will you, Delmas? And tell us the schools that you have worked with since you have gone into education.
Since I've been into education
Yes.
or administration?
Into education.
Oh, I worked at Delaware for 18 years as a teacher.
All right.
5th and 6th grade teachers, and I moved there and went to Adams Middle School. I worked there as a history teacher for the 6th graders. And then in 1978, I left there and went to Austin Elementary School as an administrator, the principal of Austin Elementary School, and I've been there approximately 14, 15 years. The job is very, very enjoyable. I've enjoyed it. I was intending to retire a couple of years ago, and I've enjoyed it so well that I don't know when I'm going to retire, but I think I'm going to retire in a couple of years. Kids are real nice. I love the kids at Austin Elementary School. We have just like a melting pot of races in our school, and that I love because I see so many different cultures of boys and girls here in Grand Prairie. And it just gives me a joy to see different races of people who are mixing and intermingling with one another during the day without any problems at all. And I thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, that certainly is a tribute during this commemoration of Black History Month. Would you like to comment about how proud you are of the steps that have been taken and maybe some of your hopes for how things will go?
I'd like to give Grand Prairie just a big pat on the back because I recruit for Grand Prairie for minorities. And when I go out to recruit for minorities in most areas, there are numerous, just bukus of schools from all over the United States recruiting. And I would say that Grand Prairie probably does more recruiting from the Metroplex than anybody else in the Metroplex. I see Grand Prairie almost everywhere. I mean, Grand Prairie is almost everywhere, but there are some schools in the Metroplex that I can't say that about. So Grand Prairie is way out ahead of any of the Metroplex cities as far as administrators are concerned, or as far as teachers are concerned, or just people in leadership roles. And I'm proud of Grand Prairie, knowing what it was like a few years back.
Yes,
it has really improved.
Knowing full well.
Yes. I've been here, I know.
Yes.
I can vouch that things have really improved, and I've seen this change with Dr. Crawford. Since Dr. Crawford has been here, I have seen a great change in the leadership roles of minorities in this in education here.
Does Dr. Crawford have a minority group that he meets with,
Yes,
like an advisory board?
Right. He has 2 advisory groups. He meets with the Hispanic advisory group and he meets with the Black advisory group. And every school is supposed to have a representative from their school for each one of those advisory groups. And they meet and then they view their problems or what they see as problems in the school district with him, and then he tries to take care of the problems. And I think when people are listening to one another, it really does a lot to keep people from becoming very bitter about a situation.
Well, knowing full well how the media has handled several things about the school district, I'm very glad to hear these kind of good reports. And
Very proud of Grand Prairie.
all right, we're going to get back with you in a few minutes, but now let's go to the Reverend. Reverend John O. What does the O stand for?
Oscar.
Oscar. What, do I dare ask Brunswick if his O stands for Oscar also?
Yes, ask.
It does.
The initial O in my name stands for O'Keefe, and Douglas also has the same middle name.
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe.
That is wonderful. All right.
We decided to use that O in his name, so it would be like John O. Morton. We wanted him to be Brunswick O. Morton. Then he put whatever, I think we put O'Keefe in there a little later on.
He seasoned that up to suit himself, didn't he? You bet.
No, it was always like that.
All
We
right.
did it with O'Keefe.
I'd like for all of those in our viewing audience to know a little bit more about you, about this Reverend John O. Now let's get to this preaching part of your life, okay?
Well, I started preaching in 1950.
All right, 1950.
And my first church was in Fort Worth, Texas, named Aza. And I left there and went to Dallas preaching at church, Morning Chapel, Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. I stayed there about 7 years, and then I pastored here in Grand Prairie at the, let's see, Mr. Long, so I call that church's name up there. McIntyre CME Church. I pastored here in Grand Prairie and got lots of support from the Grand Prairie people and put a budget up to build a church. But while I was making preparations, well, then they moved me to Gainesville, Texas.
Oh, my.
On Throckmorton and Gainesville, St. James, gave me at CME Church, and I stayed there 4 years. Then I left there and went to Sherman, Daniel Gray's CME Church. I spent 12 years, and working with the salesmen up there, the house salesmen. I purchased a parsonage and almost paid for the parsonage, and they were standing in need for a pastor at Elizabeth Chapel CME Church, Dallas, Texas. And I didn't care much about going because I had my setup good, but I came on and stayed at Elizabeth Chapel 5 years. Then I left there and went to Porter's Temple CME Church on Hatcher Street. I spent 2 years there. Then I was called in as an elder. I'm really an elder now instead of John. An elder, and I was an elder for 5 years, and I got kind of tired of it, and I left, and they got in trouble, and then they called me back. And I spent about another year there, and then recently they called me back to a church in Dallas. I've been just going from one to the other, and I'm in Dallas now at the age of 81 years old.
81 years old and still a traveling gospel preacher.
That's right.
Oh, that is wonderful. And you would say that this suits anyone that believes in the Lord,
That's
right?
right, exactly right.
All
That's
right.
been why I was able to struggle. And the thing I like about it is that Demerson, my children, we all went to the same school, Booker T. Washington High School. See, that is handed down from me to them.
All except Brunswick. You didn't let Brunswick
well,
go to
he
Booker
wasn't.
T.
Well, he wasn't there then. It wasn't operating so good then. You see. Then I done some studying at Texas College on theology, and he studied at Texas College. He and Samuel studied there.
So they followed in your footsteps pretty well, didn't they?
Yeah, except one thing, and I went to Tennessee every year to take a course for about 4 years, and they didn't make it up there, but they went other places.
Would you say that they were pretty good boys and followed in your footsteps
Yes,
pretty well?
they were very obedient boys because they realized I meant what I said, and I said what I meant.
Well, that's great.
And that way I didn't have any trouble out of them. They got to the age of about 16. Well, then I taught them to drive a car. Of course, Dad would run through the garage. When he first started, Daddy, I was put in the garage and went through the garage. But after then, I let them drive it, and I told them that you can drive my car to Social in Grand Prairie, but I do not want any drinking in my car. So the boys was a little disobedient, and he made 2 drives to Grand Prairie and let the boys go with him. But after that, he and Samuel, then they stopped them. They said, you can't ride with us anymore because you drink. And I never had any trouble out of them. They've never been to jail, only in my jail.
That's it.
And that's it. Very good children. Girl was a good girl. We adopted a girl after I married my first wife passed. His mother passed at an early age. I married Mary Hicks. Y'all might remember some of the Hicks used to work here in Grand Prairie. I married her. We've been together about 46 years.
That's wonderful.
And she helped me develop these young men in school. She took them as a mother, as their mother, and she supported them, and they'll go for her instead of going for me right now. I have to stand alone sometimes by myself, but I'll make it somehow.
It's been so wonderful talking with the Morton clan. It's been just delightful to hear the story. And Douglas, are you about ready to leave this chair and get out of this place?
How are you?
You are. You are, aren't you? Are you telling Granddaddy it's about time to go? Well, we're going to leave. If you'll wave at your camera real big out here and tell it goodbye, then we're going to sign off and leave this wonderful interview. Brunswick, we want to thank you and Carmen for bringing Douglas especially, and also Delmas Morton, Principal of the World at Austin Elementary.
That's right,
We want to
Principal of
thank
the
you
World.
very much for getting this group together, because you are a PR person deluxe. And the Reverend John O., whether you're a reverend or an elder, we're delighted to have interviewed you one more time.
Thank you very much, now. We appreciate your kindness inviting us back over here to respond.
Because in 1987, we did 30 minutes with them. And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live.